It's that time again. The annual conference of the American Society of Ag Consultants, otherwise known as ASAC, is going to be held in Fort Myers, Florida, this November 4th and 5th. Kurt Covington is one of 9 professionals who will address the conference. The other speakers who will cover a wide range of topics represent Florida Farm Bureau, Florida Citrus Commission, University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, National Ag Law Center, Risk Mitigators and Advisors, Tyler Associates, as well as the lead economist for dairy at CoBank, and myself, Chrissy Wozniak from North American Ag. The day and a half of presentations will be followed by ag tours on Tuesday afternoon at Echo Farms, one of my favorite places here in Fort Myers. Attendees will experience farming at its most creative, with unique demonstrations, plants, and techniques being used to help farmers and urban gardeners in developing countries. A second tour at Echo will showcase simple technologies that can improve food, water, and shelter for millions of people. A third tour of a hydroponic grower is also being planned. For more information and to register, visit www.agconsultants.org. That's www.agconsultants.org. See you there. The 2022 growing season has been a roller coaster, to say the least. But what if I told you that you could add another revenue stream for your farm? Harvest Hosts connects over 200,000 RVers to a network of thousands of farms, wineries, breweries, and small businesses. Hosts simply offer RVers a one-night stay on their farm, and in return, RVers patronize the host business. The program is a cost-free opportunity, and 100% of the money spent on site goes straight to the host. In 2021, members spent more than $40 million across host locations. If you don't sell produce or products on your farm, no problem. You can get creative with what you can offer travelers, create farm experiences, sell farm-branded swag, and even receive tips. Hosts can accept or deny stay requests, manage the number of RVs, and set blackout dates. No hookups or services are required to host. Visit harvesthosts.com/hosts. That's harvesthosts.com/hosts for more information and to apply to become a host today. Hi, and welcome to North American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. My guests today are from a company committed to transitioning farms to climate-smart farming practices, generating reliable farm carbon credits and certified climate-smart crops. From Saratoga, Wyoming, I'd like to welcome carbon cropping agronomist Brekke Munks, and from Fort Collins, Colorado, the U.S. Growth Market Manager Ashley Bruner, both from Agoro Carbon Alliance. Welcome, Brekke and Ashley. How are you guys doing today?
Great. How are you?
Great. Thank you.
Very good. So can you each tell me a bit about your backgrounds and how you got into this, the industry?
Yeah, sure. Happy to kick it off. I grew up in central Illinois on a small farm, raising both crops and livestock. And I'm now based out of Colorado and have had the fortunate experience to work on some ranches as well, both cattle and horse. Very passionate about horses, but my experience career-wise has been devoted around agriculture, remote automation, and renewable energy. And I joined Agoro Carbon Alliance in August of 2021 because I really liked the mission to support farmers and ranchers throughout sustainable practice changes, and as well as the global network of people doing likewise work to support farmers and ranchers while also making a positive change for the planet.
That's awesome. And Brekke?
I'm Brekke Munks. As you stated, I live currently in Wyoming. I am a Wyoming native. My background is heavy in soil science and soil microbiology, mainly in grasslands throughout the United States. So perennial systems. I previously had worked for the federal government as a soil scientist. And prior to that, I was in graduate school earning my PhD and other various degrees. But that being said, similar to Ashley, I'm almost at my year anniversary with Agoro, which is wonderful, the 28th of June. And similar to Ashley, I joined Agoro simply because of the producer contact and the drive to make very good changes for soil health moving forward in agriculture.
Wow. So you've devoted your life to soil. That is really cool.
Thank you.
And so can you tell me about Agoro Carbon Alliance? How was it started and what's the story behind it?
Yeah, happy to do so. As I mentioned, we were launched by Yara International in June 2021, so just over a year ago, with the goal to provide farmers and ranchers around the world with a risk-averse way to monetize sustainable practices that create carbon credits, all with the goal to remove carbon from the atmosphere and sequester it in our soils. We do this through an alliance of farmers, agronomists, and businesses, both here in the U.S. and worldwide, that all believe that when farmers are rewarded for changing practices that sequester the soil carbon, we all benefit collectively. We're really excited that since that launch a year ago, we've distributed over $9 million directly in forward payments to U.S. farmers and ranchers to make these practice changes. It really provides a unique opportunity for agriculture and specifically to farmers and ranchers to be the leading solution when it comes to improving their own livelihoods through new revenue streams, but also through helping to mitigate some of the changes that come along with the climate.
Right. And you mentioned Yara International backs Agoro Carbon Alliance. So what is their history and mission, and what part do they play now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Agoro was started by Yara International, as I mentioned, and Yara is a world's crop nutrition company that's been around for over 115 years. Their overall mission is to responsibly feed the world and protect the planet. As part of their long-term business strategy is to decarbonize agriculture. They're doing so both through practice changes as a business, also throughout the crop inputs that they sell. And Agoro Carbon Alliance's role within Yara's larger role is to build this global business that combines their unique market position. They work with over 20 million farmers around the world, along with a global alliance where farmers are really at the center of everything they do and everything we do at Agoro. I also just want to mention that Agoro operates completely separate from Yara International. We have the backing of them, but we are focused solely on the carbon market. We don't sell any other products or technologies or crop inputs. We simply are here to support these practice changes, both here in the US and worldwide.
That makes sense. And we hear a lot these days about carbon credits. It seems that the information isn't always clear. It seems kind of clunky and confusing. So can you explain exactly carbon cropping practice and how you can benefit from this as a farmer?
Absolutely. So the carbon market isn't necessarily a new market, but Agoro has a really interesting take on it, which is pretty exciting because we want to influence change to promote soil carbon sequestration events into the future so that there are carbon credits. The carbon market works by offering incentives and rewards for implementing these conservation practices in row crops or farm ground. We offer changes in tillage, so essentially moving from conventional tillage to some sort of reduced tillage model. We also promote the practice of cover cropping, and so you can alter what you're currently doing, or you can put in cover crops if you have never done that before. And then we also have nitrogen use efficiency management, so getting away essentially from utilizing loads and loads of nitrogen inputs, because our soil is getting better over time because of the practices we're doing to create organic matter. Also, we are in the grassland or ranching market, which is pretty exciting. We offer 3 practices there as well, and that is improvement upon rotational grazing. So if you're not already rotationally grazing, we can help you move in a rotational pattern, or we can tweak your current rotational pattern. We also offer the opportunity to get enrolled for the carbon market concerning diversifying your forage base. So interseeding something else. That could be a broadleaf, that could be another cereal, or another forage that would be optimum for your herd. That being said, our third practice is actually the addition of nitrogen to these grassland acres. And that's simply because most of those grassland and pasture acres, the soil underneath them is very low in nitrogen to begin with. And nitrogen is one of the simple building blocks in order to have healthy, large amounts of forage above ground. So a little bit of input can go a long way.
Yeah, for sure. And Ashley, do you want to add anything to that?
Sorry, it was on mute. No, I think that what Breck perfectly captured what we try to do, and we support through really specific practice changes that are measurable and scalable, which is really important to the success for both us as a company, but also to farmers and ranchers, because the ultimate goal behind what they're doing is both the impact to their own operations, but also to create high quality carbon credits that then are sold to businesses who are looking to reduce their carbon footprint. And that creates a market that is sustainable and long term, and that benefits both Agoro Carbon as well as its farmers. Our success is really tied together by creating these practices that are long term and that provide benefits both ways, so that we're improving soil carbon sequestration.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in this time of unpredictable markets, high inputs, what can you do to help the producer's bottom line, protect their profit margin? What kind of a financial impact can they typically expect?
So this is exciting because this gives another revenue stream, as Ashley had mentioned previously in this talk, to producers. And so by getting enrolled in the carbon market and implementing one or various of these practice changes that we have, you get, as soon as you sign up, and actually even before you sign up with Agoro, you get a whole backing of a team of agronomists. Wow. That we have boots on the ground and we're out in the field. And our main job is to be there to help support the farmers in these practice changes. We offer competitive annual payments, which is pretty exciting. And if that's not something that folks are interested in, we do have multiple revenue streams, or not revenue streams, multiple payment options, which is pretty exciting. And so you can do essentially like a pay for performance option, or you can do the yearly options if that's what you would like to do. We also, our whole program is flexible. So it's not super stringent in the concept that we come in and tell you specifically what you're going to do, which is really good to the producer, because we do have issues with climate, as we very well know, and drought and germination and things like that. So we have flexibility in our program concerning that. We also have the backing of Yara, like we already mentioned, which is really important. We're not out looking for venture capital on a regular basis, so we can support our producers that have signed up and support time to making sure these are verifiable carbon credits. We also offer market competitive pricing, which is pretty exciting, especially in the long-term contract, because even if you signed up today, the price that you would be getting if the credit price goes up, you benefit from that in the future.
Right. And so what is the process then that a grower would expect to go through if they decide to partner?
Well, so out west in particular, with the grassland, a lot of it's been word of mouth, which is great. So I get a lot of phone calls just from neighboring producers. And essentially the process looks like this. You would either go to our website and put in an info query, essentially, and you would get teamed up with an agronomist in your region, or you would end up with one of our numbers because of your neighbor, right? And you were already interested in the carbon market. We would give you a phone call back and we would have a conversation about, your production system, what your current situation is, what your goals are, what you're looking at. We do a little just general 101 carbon education, because in theory, not in theory, but it is a myth to a lot of people, and we're here to help educate. And that's one of our big stepping stones to this whole entire market. After that, we do an on-site visit. So we actually get to see your ranch or your farm ground. We will do preliminary modeling associated with what your potential ground could sequester, and what practices you might be interested in, and where those would take you in 10 years for the carbon sequestration. At that juncture, then we would sign a contract, and essentially we would come out and do baseline sampling. A company would come out and do that. That would all be scheduled with the producer. And then in 5 years, we would do subsequent sampling, as well as at the end of the 10-year contract, which is pretty exciting. Throughout that whole entire process, though, we have to have projects verified. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work going on. We have to, figure out a plan for the carbon generation of these, or the credit generation of these credits. And we have done that part. And then we go to a verification firm that essentially puts their stamp of approval on it. And that's where these projects are verified. They are regional projects. And so essentially that would be the same concept of saying, like, it's a certified letter from the mailbox. It has a stamp of approval saying that this is in fact a legit carbon credit, because we have utilized third-party sampling firms. We've utilized third-party analysis firms. So we don't have the ability at all to ever, the data is real, I guess is the point. Like, it has a baseline, and then this change throughout time we can look at, and it's done by somebody else and then certified by a verification company. And then essentially after those credits are verified, we've got the opportunity to then release those, and individuals looking to offset their carbon footprint can purchase them at that juncture.
I see. And so what are some of the on-farm measurements? What are the benchmarks? What will you be looking for in the testing?
So initially, we do ask for historical data. That's partly due to the modeling, but that also helps us to determine what can be stored in the future based on these practice changes. When we come and take soil samples, we're taking soil samples for bulk density, and we're also taking soil samples for soil organic carbon. Soil organic carbon makes sense because that's the metric that we're looking at as stored carbon from these practice changes. However, we can't do that on a large scale without bulk density samples. And the other benefit is over the time period, bulk density is drastically going to change with these management practices in a positive sense. And so throughout any of the 6 current practices that we offer concerning grasslands or row crop acres, they're all going to build soil health. We're going to store organic matter. We're going to increase water holding capacity. There's all these things that are major benefits. But just with these 2 metrics, we can look at a lot of different aspects of what's beneficial for the whole entire production ecosystem, if you will. And it's a great wealth of information, and also obviously helps us track the carbon market or the carbon storage.
Yeah, wow, that's really interesting. And who's the ideal producer? So is there like a size of farm that you're looking for, small or large, or is it every farm?
Well, so it's pretty simple, actually. In order to get in the gate, you essentially only have to enroll 500 acres, which is pretty exciting. You can enroll more than that. That's totally up to the producer. But there isn't necessarily a cookie cutter ideal producer in this scenario. Producers, whether you're a farmer or a rancher, you're already the best conservationist of your land, because your land and your soil already currently makes you money. And so if you're in ag in either one of those, then you're already on the list of potential enrollees. However, we want people who are committed to soil health. We want people who are committed to making sure that the practices that they are going to put out on their land, rotational grazing or improvement of tillage or cover crops for that matter, that they're actually willing to do those practices. Because if we can't have a good partnership unless they're willing and they're driven to make sure that they're storing carbon. So we're looking for individuals who are interested in the longevity of their productive acres.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add that, no-till is really a commonly accepted practice across the United States. And so sometimes farmers will self-disqualify based on seeing those words, reduced tillage. And by that, we mean going either to strip tillage or no-till for your farming methods. But a relatively small practice change, like adding a cover crop, a single cover crop, a diverse mix of cover crops, can qualify you for a carbon program. And that is one of those things that can also fix nitrogen, depending on the species that you choose, that can make you a viable candidate to join a carbon program and add that new revenue stream while also building soil health. I think one really important thing for farmers and ranchers is just ask the questions and find out. do not self-disqualify. That's something that comes up a lot where people assume they're not qualified to join it, but they actually can under specific practices.
Great points. And I agree with you. Also, one of your former points, Breck, that there is no better steward of the land than a farmer. And I always like to especially educate the public that these aren't people destroying the earth; they're people that care and love the earth. And so, how do you see producers caring for the ground that they work on? Are you seeing any new trends lately, like things that have been happening more recently that are new?
Well, out here in the West, and I mean, technically the whole entire United States, we're in a drought cycle, and people are really changing the way that they are utilizing their standing forage, and they're starting to stockpile more of it on the ground opposed to in the form of baled hay or baled forage, which is pretty exciting. Folks are also really paying attention to how they can manage water. And there's a lot of individuals that are changing their ability for water storage for later in the season, which is exciting. I think people are realizing that it's wonderful to continually rely on inputs, but inputs are a tool. And when we manage our soil in a global concept, instead of just saying I'm going to have monoculture all the time and I'm going to till for my weeds and I'm going to add many chemicals, if I introduce livestock in that system to graze and I'm taking partial care of my weeds and I'm doing some of these other things, and I see a lot of people starting to look over the fence and start wanting to diversify in the sense of putting livestock back into their production systems or putting annuals back into a historically perennial system, just because that change in biodiversity does so much for the above ground ecosystem as it does for the below ground ecosystem. And the other thing that I find really, really interesting is individuals who are looking toward management of not only their herds, their domesticated herds, but they also are diversifying through the utilization of having hunting on their property. And so they're starting to manage also for wildlife populations, which I think is interesting. And then people have started going on ecotourism bird tours. And that's something that is becoming really popular in ranching as well. And row crop to a certain extent, particularly where there's water available. People are putting in water features just to have these bird watching areas.
Yeah, that's right. And these hard times do create the innovation as well. And we have really relied on inputs, and now people do have to think outside the box a little bit. And it's always great when we can turn it to something positive, right?
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember
always.
Too, that we absolutely look at sustainability as a revenue stream to continue the farm in the short term, and changing these practices helps mitigate risk in the long term for farmers as well. Whether it's drought, whether it's too much water, too little water, these practices improve the soil sponge, which helps you to take advantage of it in both circumstances. But also to add this new revenue stream to farmers and ranchers, because sustainability also means being able to pass it on to the next generation. Mm-hmm. A lot of us at Agoro Carbon grew up on farms and ranches ourselves. And so we really understand what that means deep in our hearts and how important that is. And we genuinely care about farmers and ranchers being able to be sustainable both in their operations and for the long term.
Yeah, great points. And so where can people find you to get started?
So the best place to start is at agorocarbonalliance.com. I would also just want to mention that one of the biggest questions is just people want to understand the carbon market. Yeah. There's a lot of questions. It's a new market. They don't know who to trust and where to find information. And for that singular reason, we started what we call the Carbon Farming Knowledge Hub, which can be found on our homepage of the website. That's a mix of agronomists like Breck and experts in the carbon market, explaining the things farmers need to be aware of, things ranchers want to be aware of, about asking the right questions regarding contracts. 10 years is a long time to make changes for your operations. So you need to make sure that you feel comfortable with every aspect of both the practice changes and the contract. And so that's a great place to start. And then there's also agronomists and carbon experts across the United States that are available for local consultation and help. And I think that's really key to being a long-term partner, is having that on the ground support as well.
That's fantastic. And then I have one more question for each of you. You can take turns answering, but why do you serve the agriculture industry? What are you most passionate about this?
Ashley, do you want to go first?
Sure, happy to. What makes me so excited about this is what I just mentioned earlier. I genuinely believe that this is the right thing to do at the right time, both to make agriculture a leader in climate change mitigation while improving their own livelihoods. Farmers and ranchers are at the most to lose when it comes to climate change because they're so weather dependent for all of their practices. We also really believe that they genuinely care about being good stewards of the land and good stewards of their livestock. And I'm really excited to be part of a company that is doing the right thing for the right reasons, and really with a lot of intelligent, good people leading the way that will make actionable change and allow also for businesses to become a part of this when it comes to mitigating climate change.
Yeah, and Brekke?
I've spent the last 10 plus years of my life working on soil health and looking at climate change. And it is so refreshing that Agoro is so behind the producers of the ranching and the row crop worlds, and that I can help take the science and help facilitate the lifelong change for the soil and the lifelong change for those producers. And having grown up in an agricultural setting and watching some of my very best friends have to move off the family ranch and then later in life starting over when they're capable of doing it, it would be so exciting that essentially in 10 years, somebody comes back to the grass at Agoro and says, you know what? When we signed up with you, we were looking at potentially selling the family heritage, and this helped us to get out of that hole. And so I think about, children growing up in the wide open spaces, and I just absolutely love that. And I love the fact that Agoro, through practice change and promoting soil health, we will be able to ensure that for the future.
Yeah, for sure. I love to hear of people just truly serving producers. I just love it. And thank you guys so much for joining me. It was a really great conversation. Is there anything else you want to add?
Just if anyone has more questions, please reach out to us. I think transparent, open-ended information is key to informing the market, and only providing a recommendation to proceed if it's going to benefit someone is really a keystone of our business. Transparency and honesty are so important when you have a new market in order to build trust and to make it successful.
Very good. And so thanks again for joining me today. And thanks to all who are watching or listening. If you want to learn more, the links are provided in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to our North American Ag Spotlight YouTube, Rumble, or Ag Fuse channels. And the podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to today's Ag Spotlight episode, where we put the spotlight on people and companies doing great things for the agricultural industry. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, or on your favorite podcasting platform, and give us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on YouTube and Rumble to see the video version of Ag Spotlight. Also, head on over to NorthAmericanAg.com to subscribe to our Industry Connect update newsletter. If you're interested in advertising opportunities, email us at connect@NorthAmericanAg.com. Thanks for listening. Our newest podcast by North American Ag is called What Color is Your Tractor? The stories behind the ag brands you love and the ag brands you love to hate. Hosted by me, Chrissy Wozniak. We take a deep dive into the companies that have built modern agriculture. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. Go to whatcolorisyourtractor.com Available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts.